From the sky, the city is nothing more than a tiny dot. Sealed inside an aluminum shell, oxygen mask strapped to his face, fingers numb as they rest on vibrating controls, a pilot cuts through the clouds. The formation tightens, and the world shrinks to the constant drone of 4 engines. Ahead, black flowers burst in the air. Fleck marks a corridor that must be crossed without hesitation. At 8,000 meters, the air bites hard. Below, flares mark the target. Above, the bombardier calls out numbers, and the pilot holds the aircraft steady for 30 seconds that feel like a lifetime. Bomb bay doors open, the wind rushes in, the bay breathes, and finally,
bombs away!
There is no relief. What follows is escaping hell, counting tails, landing, and knowing that the next day there will be another mission. This is the raw experience of a bombing raid during World War II. A World War II bombing raid always unfolds in 2 simultaneous scenes. Above, a crew takes off before dawn, heading toward a point drawn on a map. Below, a city whose inhabitants turn off lights, descend into basements or stations, and learn to recognize night by sound. Sirens, engines, anti-aircraft fire, and the dull odor of a nearby explosion. In Britain, that choreography was called the Blitz. In Germany, it took 1,000 names, from Berlin to Dresden.
And this is the new battlefront, the air front, from which we seek out the enemy.
England, 1940. Luftwaffe crews advance along staggered routes. Priority targets are docks, warehouses, and workshops. They are struck first with high-explosive bombs, then with incendiaries that ignite rooftops and courtyards. When weather, wind and bomb mix align, fires link block to block and continue burning in daylight. The cloud layer presses low. The crew sees only flashes and hears explosions. The results are confirmed later, from a distance. Columns of smoke at dawn, blackened docks, severed rail lines. On the return leg, the pilot turns onto an escape route to avoid flying back through the corridor just marked. The danger is not over. Flak shifts toward exit points, and searchlights chase shadows that blend with clouds. Many returns hinge on small details, but the overall pattern repeats itself. Night bombing, port and industrial targets, spreading fires, and a balance growing ever more fragile between inflicted damage and own losses. The cumulative impact on Britain is measured in 3 visible tactical outcomes: periodic disruption of ports and railways, repeated damage to industrial districts, and a country that, despite punishment, keeps functioning thanks to rapid repairs, civil defense, and a shelter network that keeps the population alive and production moving. In London, routine began with cruel punctuality in 1940. Siren, blackout, locked doors, and a rush to the nearest shelter. The government tried to prevent underground stations from becoming dormitories, but quickly gave in. Between 100,000 and 150,000 people spent their nights there. Over time, each station built its own administration, committees to organize sleeping areas, play spaces for children, smoking corners, collections to buy disinfectants, even meetings between stations to copy solutions. Official reports noted concern over this self-organization. Some committees leaned communist, but in practice it worked. It cleaned, distributed, and cared. Photographers and journalists who descended into the tube found more than cots. Classes, accents, and prejudices mixed. Poor districts of the East End, with high numbers of Jews and immigrants, had fewer shelters and suffered more at the start of the Blitz. In just 6 weeks, collapsing substandard housing left 250,000 people temporarily homeless. Above ground, another battle raged. After an attack, civil defense crews moved through hoses and rubble. Incendiaries were smothered with sand and water, bucket by bucket. Time delay bombs were covered with paper or cloth to limit shrapnel until specialists arrived. And the noise was not only bombs. Friendly anti-aircraft guns fired back, their fragments raining onto roofs and sidewalks. Guns mounted on rail platforms were so deafening that many residents remembered them as a terror of their own. Yet despite exhaustion, the social system held. Food trucks handed out soup and hot bread. Neighbors went door to door taking roll calls. At dawn, those still employed went to work on just a few hours of sleep. The rule was simple: survive. After a night raid, the scene repeated itself. Firefighters forcing paths through rubble and flames, ambulances with constant sirens, neighbors passing buckets and chains, wardens calling names. Not everyone had a garden shelter. Many improvised table shelters inside their homes or reinforced basements with timber. Incendiaries could be controlled if handled quickly. Time bombs demanded patience and containment. Daily resistance was also bureaucracy. Ration lines, bread with margarine and jam for those who had lost their kitchens, blankets and mattresses distributed in schools and churches. Solidarity in the tunnels did not erase inequality, but it softened it. The East End still took more fire early on with less infrastructure. Wealthier districts could offer space in better shelters. What changed was that, for the first time, the underground connected everyone. On the streets, fires burned for days, facades were propped up, debris cleared, and life resumed at a strange rhythm. Children returning to class after sleeping on platforms, workers crossing half the city to find their workshop, shopkeepers reopening with what little they had salvaged. If the attackers' goal was to break morale, the result was the opposite. London turned its underground into another neighborhood, and with time and patience, Britain would have its revenge. In Germany, the picture splits into two overlapping versions, a nocturnal stream of the RAF and a daytime formation of the USAAF. At night, Allied bombers fly high, guided by navigation aids and a key element, the pathfinders, who arrive first, paint the target with colored markers and guide the main force. From the cockpit, the target appears as a pattern of coded lights. Flak is not random. It presets bursts along the expected route, which must be flown if bombs are to be released accurately. When marking is clear and the stream stays cohesive, bombing concentrates. When creepback sets in, the tendency to drop progressively shorter, the damage spreads outward. By day, with B-17S and B-24s, the USAAF flies in staggered boxes. Defense is collective, interlocking cones of fire and long-range escorts that, by 1944, reach the target and return. The threat is not only flak, carving dense black corridors over cities, but also head-on attacks by German fighters trying to break the formation. The bomb run is once again the bottleneck. The bombardier guides, the pilot holds steady, and releasing on the point determines the entire mission. Physical relief after bombs away contrasts with what unfolds below. Roofs lifted, workshops collapsing, rail yards boiling with explosions. Between 1944 and 1945, Berlin entered a cycle of daylight blows involving hundreds or thousands of aircraft, followed by nights that turned day bright from target illumination. Two dates remained open wounds for witnesses: February 3rd and February 26th, 1945. On February 3rd, the city faced an endless bombing line. Some returning from work crossed entire districts with coats and shoes burning, as incendiary phosphorus ran down facades like snakes of fire. U-Bahn stations took direct hits, trains overturned at platforms, corridors buried, drainage channels stained. On the 26th, 3 alarms, afternoon, night, and early morning, gave the sense that the city shrank with each pass. Domestic shelter meant reinforced basements or massive multi-story bunkers packed with hundreds of people, with anti-aircraft guns on rooftops shaking the entire structure with each shot. During work hours, sirens emptied factories and sent workers running to the nearest bunker. When all clear sounded, many returned to machines if the workshop still stood. Survival economics included soup and bread trucks, schools turned into dormitories, hospitals operating from basements after upper floors were destroyed, and cremations without funerals due to lack of coffins and time. Amid information blackout, cinemas stayed open almost until the end. Dark rooms where, for a while, sirens could not be heard. Dresden captures what a city can and cannot endure. On February 13, 1945, at 21:30, the alarm sounds. Within minutes, the first wave hits with violence. Overcrowded basements, darkness, smoke, wounded screaming. Families move through linked cellars trying to escape collapse. Outside, the firestorm's airflow, a true storm of flame, pulls and pushes everything in its path. Refugee carts burn, horses collapse, bodies are carbonized. A mother loses her daughter in the crush. Another child crosses the city with wet blankets over his head. Before dawn, a second wave arrives. By morning, neighborhoods no longer exist. Only voids, roofless walls, and streets reduced to embers. On the British side, the everyday resilience of the Blitz, tunnels lined with mattresses, spontaneous committees, soup trucks, proved that a great city could function under sustained attack. On the German side, the combination of massive bunkers, basement networks, emergency food, underground hospitals, and industrial continuity shaped a society already sensing the war's end. In both cases, streets learned to read the air and survive collectively. The pilots and crews who carried out those missions lived another reality. They took off into fog, flew in extreme cold, and delivered destruction wherever their aircraft pointed. This is how we reach the end of this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, we invite you to subscribe on our channel.